What's going on, Disrupt Nation? Thank you so much for joining the Super Creators Podcast, where we interview today's most innovative and most inspirational creatives, whether it's in photography, videography, logo design, everything in the arts. And today we have a really, really good guest hailing from New Jersey, a New Jersey native like myself. Our guest today is Tewelde Medhin, who has Trinidadian roots. Most of his work right now, he is currently the main photographer for Sofistafunk The Skirt Co. And he has also worked with some New Jersey fashion designers. And there was one good one. He had the opportunity to partner up and shoot with Bravo TV reality star Brooklyn Tankard. And one of the things that I just found out and I love the most is he has been working closely also with the Newark kids in tech, which is like, that hits home. That's where Disrupt started in Newark. So I'm happy to have our guest on, and we're going to learn a lot today about what it is to be in the photography business in 2019. So everybody, T, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No problem. What's up, Disrupt Nation?
There you go. Getting everybody to see that. So T, really quick, I always like to give our listeners and viewers a little bit of backstory. So the way I first found out about you, I believe, was through Wafika.
Yeah.
Which is right, New Jersey model that I shoot with frequently, and now is a great friend of mine. So one day she referred me to you. She told me to check out your page, and she shoots with you. And honestly, I love your work. I appreciate all the effort that you put into it, and I definitely see and notice like not only the technicality in your work, but then also the professionalism, which is not seen by many people nowadays.
Yeah.
So that's
Only
why
the
I'm excited.
professionals look at that.
Yeah, I know. Not the cool kids. They don't worry about that. So really quick,
Cool.
T,
Thank you.
I guess tell the listener a little bit about yourself. Just something about your background, how you got into the creative field, if it was photography, something else.
Sure. Well, I moved to the United States from Trinidad and Tobago in 2010, believe it or not, May 2010. Left a good job there, came to the US because of marriage, actually. And when I came, my mother-in-law, I saw a camera that I liked. Why I wanted to get the camera is because the guy that had shot for our wedding is a really good friend of mine, and he had gotten into photography like about 2 years before our wedding. So we were kind of like watching his progress to see if he would come up to the level that we would like for our wedding.
Okay.
And he did. So I thought the camera did all the work back then. So I was like, okay, if I get a nice camera, I'll get good pictures. I always remember, and I always tell people this story where I opened the box and I saw the M and the P and the A. I was like, what is this? Didn't understand anything. So then I had to go to YouTube, University of YouTube. That's what I call it.
There you go.
It's not free, but it's a resource that you can use because you pay internet bills, so you pay for it technically. And I went to YouTube and I started looking for how to use these things. Bounced around some people, the regular names, some of the names that pop up because they're YouTube partners and stuff. And I didn't like their technical language. It just threw me off. And then I found a guy that doesn't even do videos anymore. And he explains things like down to earth, where you could understand it. He didn't hit you with the inverse square rule for lighting and all of that. He just basically let you know, okay, if you let somebody stand from there and here, the light is going to be about half, and that's it. And I like that. Then Matt Granger, who has moved to New York now, started following him because he had a way more detailed things. But again, he explained in a very simple manner and form where you can relate to it and understand it. And I just kept watching his videos, and every time I learned about something, I gave it practice time. So, aperture, practice aperture, understand aperture, look at other videos too about aperture, shutter speed, that triangle in photography for those of you that would know. Now from there, again, through Matt Granger, which I guess I'm plugging, but I can't That's the fact. That's what
You do
happened.
it.
Through him, he always said, like, you need to pick where in photography when it comes to the business aspect of it. And I never really had an eye for fashion because I'm not a fashionable guy. I'm basic when it comes to dressing and stuff. So I just liked the creativity of fashion. So I saw fashion as an art, like painting and like photography and like dancing, just coming up with something from your head or something that gripped you from something else that you saw and you add your own. And I like that. And then I also like the idea that with fashion photography too, you can be a lot creative, depending on
Yes.
the client, but you can be very creative because now you have unique pieces. And then if you have a unique enough mind, and now I know this, but back then I didn't, if you have the right model, things can be pretty epic. So I decided to go into fashion photography, but I understood that it's not going to be a money making thing unless you get really big brands. But because of the artistic side of it, that's why I focus on it. Now I know weddings, you can make a lot of money. I've
Yeah.
done weddings. But and the wedding photographers, don't come for me, don't kill me. It's boring to me. Why? Because there's a format and I know they're going to want to kill me, but it's okay. There's a
Do it.
format and from my point of view. So there's a format and there's A to B to C all the way to Z. And once you memorize that, unless somebody has like a really unique wedding where they switch stuff up, it's going to be the same. Now you can add your artistic point of view when it comes to shooting the bride and groom. This is a long answer.
No, go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So you can add your own creativity when it comes to shooting the bride and groom, but still that is within a certain range, because if they don't understand when they get the images at the end, they may have questions that they shouldn't question, but it's because they didn't really understand your perspective when it comes to fashion. I think there's a lot of leeway into taking and accepting what the photographer can deliver. That's outside of product photography and all that. So that's when I decided to stick to fashion. And how I got into fashion is interesting. So went to Model Mayhem. A lot of people know that's a familiar name.
Okay.
It's not a site that I'll really recommend 100% now, especially with Instagram around. But back then I did have Instagram, but I was using it just as personal. So I had this designer, Fashion 64, Samantha Samuel. Can't never take her credit away, because I reached out to her when she had a casting on there as a photographer. And this is me only having a few shoots with models with not even models, they were just girls that I knew that
Yeah.
were confident enough to be in front of the camera. And she allowed me to be one of the photographers for her show. I was actually the main photographer, in terms of she was required looking for images from me. There were other photographers, but she wouldn't really go to them. She'd wait till they provided it, and she gave me the opportunity, and that's where I met models. And to this day, the ball is still rolling.
Awesome. That's amazing. Actually, it's funny because I don't know too many fashion photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess oddly enough, or at least also not in New Jersey. And some people that I've asked, I did like one of those polls once, and asked
Mm-hmm.
people what
Mm-hmm.
kind of photography did they think I did,
Mm-hmm.
and some people actually said it was like fashion photography, and I was
Oh,
like,
cool.
all right, I can roll with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I definitely hear your perspective, and I'm glad that you brought that up about making money in the
Mm-hmm.
industry as a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And you went through the points of you went into fashion, but there's easier things like
Yeah,
wedding and things like that. And
portraiture. Mm-hmm.
trust me, I want you to be as blunt and straightforward, because this podcast is not about
Okay, I got
it's
you.
about learning. It's really
Yeah.
it's about learning. It's about
Mm-hmm.
expression. We're all creatives. Nobody's gonna get hurt, and if they do, they listen to the wrong podcast.
All right.
But
Cool.
yeah, we want to get into the nitty gritty because it's 2019.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people kind of jumped into the bandwagon. I want to say
Yeah.
2017-ish, maybe a little bit earlier. But
Mm-hmm.
still, there's a huge difference between a photographer, a real photographer, I'm going to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a hobbyist, and someone who's
Mm-hmm.
still like practicing and learning the craft.
Yeah.
So
Um. Mhm.
we're going to get into that.
As you say that, I remember a guy called them guys with cameras, and I mean, we
Yeah,
all start off as guys with cameras,
of
and
course.
then you learn. But there's definitely a difference between a photographer. And I didn't call myself a photographer for some time until I got to the confidence level where I can handle multiple scenarios, meaning settings and setups, and that's when I decided I could charge people, because I want to be competent. I don't want to be put in a situation where there's low lighting and I'm lost, and then I have to give somebody an excuse as to why I didn't get the imagery. So
Yep.
it's just me as a person.
Definitely. So then really quick, so one of the first things that you touched up on was knowing and learning about, like, well, no, the thing that you said was you thought the camera did everything.
Yes.
Right? So
Really thought so.
okay. So I hear this a lot, and some people I try to hold in my
I know what you're
anger.
gonna say. I know exactly what you're
A
gonna
lot
say.
of people just say, oh, you just click a button. Oh, it's depending on the camera, it does everything. And it's funny because every time I hand somebody my camera to take a picture of me, guess what happens?
They mess up, of course.
They mess up. Either the lighting's not good, it's always out of focus. And I always tell people, I was like, they always ask me, oh, why don't you let us take pictures? And I'm like, because you never do it right.
Right.
So that's why, like, if you see even on my page, the few good pictures that I have of myself, they're all
self-portrait.
Yeah, I've done it myself. all my cover photos, my black and whites, and it's not to say that, oh, because I know a camera, but it's my camera.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing with my camera because that's my profession. It's what I do. So I wanted to see, like, your point of view, like, can you expand on that and let people understand that the camera has almost, I'm not gonna say nothing to do with it. It's definitely the tool.
Right.
But why is it important, the photographer, not the camera?
Okay, so before I continue, now I want you to look at it differently. When people think you just click, it means you're proficient enough that you're making changes in settings and they don't know. So it means you know what's happening. If you're a photographer and people see you fiddling around and fidgeting and you're like, you look confused, then they'll be confused. They'll be worried too if they're shooting with you, and it'll show like you're not sure what you're doing. So it's a kind of plus if somebody can think you're just clicking a button. I have a friend of mine. She's a business partner of mine in Trinidad, and she decided to pick the camera up on her own because she hasn't been happy with the photographers down there, which is sad. But anyways, that's another story. So she was at a fashion show. She sent me what she sent me, WhatsApp or something, and she's like, oh my gosh, I need your help. I'm not getting the images how I need them. I'm shooting, but it's not looking like what I see on the other photographers' cameras. And I was like, okay, what lens do you have on? She told me the lens. I was like, okay, go into this, do that. And then she clicked and she's like, oh yeah, I'm good. They're looking good. And when she saw me later on face to face, she's like, I had no idea. She's like, I see these other photographers standing next to me. Their stuff is looking good, but I don't see them looking and switching and fidgeting and changing things. I'm like, yeah. I was like, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing to make good imagery where, where our hands are there. If you have the camera with the front and back, rotational buttons, and you're just clicking. That's why they put them there, so they're easy access. And that's proficiency and understanding equipment. So now the camera's a tool.
Yeah, so that's all really quick on that, because it's funny how I recently, or in the last year, had to transition more to video and then like events and things like that. So first of all, the equipment that I'm working with is not like the best to switch from one to the other and all that. And I have honestly had to learn how to go from taking a picture to taking B-roll to getting an interview to getting a conversation to setting up for somebody giving a speech on stage, back to another picture. So like when I'm in these settings, like my team always sees me and like, Anthony Delgado, I want to give him a quick shout out. He always, like he always see me stressed when we're like at events or at, venues. And I'm just like, you have no idea. My head is going like 1,000 miles per hour. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm on automatic because I have to, by the end of the day, I can't say I didn't capture the footage.
No. And it's not going to have it's not going to redo.
There's no, exactly. There's never. So, so with that being said, it's like you mentioned, it's amazing how even you were able to help out your friend over the phone just by seeing the image and understanding like the equipment. you were able to
Yeah.
just guide.
Yeah,
So
I think I had seen a post of hers, so she posted on her story, and I was able, and I mean, now that I think about it, yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't know how many people can do that. But again, it's because I put in that practice, and you know, the older guys always talk about film, and I respect every living film photographer on the planet,
yes,
alive and dead, because that thing, the ease at which we can take pictures, it was not the same, or I would say, to be that proficient, it would take a lot more work.
yes,
Um, because you're dealing with a limited number because it's film, and then you're dealing with not having a display at the back. So you would have to actually know what numbers mean and see it in your head. So that's just crazy to me.
yeah.
Um,
I
so yeah, so me being able to do that, it's kind of similar because I understood, you know, the lighting setup that they had. I understood because I touched her camera. I never used it. It was a Canon. So it wasn't even a Sony
mhm.
like what I have to be able to tell her what to do. She had to at least know her setting. And she's not a photographer, so that was good that she was able to do that. But you know, the camera's a tool, and what I've realized is that the customer, you know, customer client, the layperson, I don't get that much um, aggy about it because I understand that they don't understand.
Yes,
And to them, they just see the final image. That's why a model, which is a hot topic, but that's why a model can just swipe right and put a filter because they don't understand. They just see the final image. And a photographer had a blog. I wish I remember his name to give him that credit, but he had a blog, and he was saying that, you know, equipment talk is for professional to professional. Outside of that, the customer just gets a picture. You know, as watered down it may sound to us, I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I have never, and if I have, is only God could tell, I've never, to my knowledge, asked a photographer what you shoot with.
yep.
Never. I don't so what type of photography you shoot, you know, where are you from,
Yeah.
you know, I want to know who you know. I don't ask what you shoot with. That's pointless to me. Yeah.
So yeah, no, no, and that's trust me. That's why I wanted to have this conversation because out of the the at least the few people that I know,
Hmm.
in the industry, I know your mindset's on a completely different level, and
Hmm.
it's not bad. It's good. I think people need to be
Yeah.
exposed to this kind of like information because we can get sucked up into the fad of it. What's
Yeah.
the hottest camera?
Yeah.
What's everybody using? And then what's good looks
Photographers
on Instagram.
argue between RAW and JPEG. You
Yeah,
go to my page and tell me which one I shot in RAW. Tell me which one I shot in JPEG. If you
no
can point
idea.
out each one, then I'll say you have a point. You can't. You don't know,
Yeah,
especially the format that we're shooting for, which is Instagram. You can't. Now, if I blow it up, you might be able to guess. Yeah, I knew you shot in RAW. I know you shot around 8 megapixels because this looks bad or this looks good or whatever.
yeah,
But you know, the whole art. I had one photographer. He had the Sony AR7 or something at a fashion show, and I was like, "Yo, what I did was that's when I was networking and building
mm-hmm.
contacts. So a model, I shot a few models, and this is me being smart. So I shot a few models. I was like, my new camera has Wi-Fi. Sent it to my phone, and then I sent it to them. One, I'm making contact with that model. So back,
Yep,
did AirDrop? I don't think AirDrop could have done what it can do now. So it didn't have AirDrop, so I had to like message it to her. So I got her number. That's one, and then two, it was just faster than everybody else. When the other models see her post that, they're going to ask her one question: Who did you get it from? And she's going to send them to me.
yep,
So, but this photographer was like, "Oh man, I don't know. I don't know, man. I think the quality, is too over the ears. I'm not okay. You stay there. I'll have models
yeah,
contacting me, and that's what I want." So
yes.
yeah, the
So
gear talk,
that's
man.
yes, that's a good point. So, and a lot of people need to understand this. Like when it comes to gear and megapixels and raw and all this, like unless you're really shooting a whole feature film
Hmm.
that's going to be widescreen,
Hmm.
or if you're shooting for billboards and things like
Hmm.
that, your megapixels do not matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I've honestly
It really
seen
doesn't.
iPhone photos where I have to look at it 4 or 5 times to
Hmm.
check if it's DSLR or
Yep.
not. And I'm just like,
Yep.
no, no, this is not iPhone. This is not
Yeah.
iPhone. And
People
I'm like,
didn't know that people don't know that I use my iPhone to do all my videos. I've stopped using my camera more than a year now. Any video you see I've done, I've used my iPhone because it's 4K.
There you
Good to
go.
know.
And that's what people have to, and that's something honestly that even I recently had to just kind of like sit back and transition.
Mm-hmm.
Because recently I did I don't know if you saw it. I did like a quick morning breakfast
Yeah, I
story,
saw that.
right?
I saw it. Yeah,
So
with the
I shot
coffee.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that
Mm-hmm.
just just to joke around, to have something to post. But I did it all on my iPhone. And then I asked Anthony at the time. I was like, all right, when you see this,
Mm-hmm.
do you tell the difference if it's a cell phone or if it's a camera? And his response honestly blew me out the water, because he
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't care. And I was like,
That's
but it made a point,
That's
because
yes. Yes.
if the content that they're seeing
Mm-hmm.
doesn't like interact with them or touch
Mm-hmm.
them, then it doesn't
Doesn't
matter what
matter.
it was shot with.
No.
So and I was shocked, because I really started to think, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's true, whether it's iPhone, whether it's a DSLR, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
with a potato, like people say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if the content is not good, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
if the
it doesn't
content
matter.
is good, people will be engaged.
Yeah.
And something that I even myself, I noticed the other day, like I would go on YouTube and I watch a video and
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it for a bit, but I'm stuck there. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
know this is at 360p right now. I know,
Right.
because it automatically
Right.
goes to that. But I
Mm-hmm.
kept watching it because the information
Was
and what
exactly.
was happening was more important than
Yep.
the quality.
Exactly.
So I feel
Exactly.
like people need to like step back and understand, like, what is it that you're actually like shooting, and
Mm-hmm.
like with what purpose, with what message, rather than
Yeah.
what you're shooting with.
Yeah. And that's why when I talk about gear, I always talk to photography community. If you notice, I talk to two communities, either models or photographers.
Yep.
Um, and the photography community, a lot of young guys, they're going out there and probably putting $2,000 cameras on their credit card, and they're not even making any close clientele enough to pay back for it. And that's 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 fine if you can afford it. You know what I mean? If when you charge one client, the next after you purchase that, you're making that camera money back, that's great.
Perfectly fine.
But I just try to keep them grounded, and I have a goal to keep mine for about, I was thinking 9 years the other day, but might be less. I want to at least try to keep it for 5 years, unless like it goes bad on me or something. Just as a testimony at that time for whoever I'll be around, for them to see that I live what I spoke, and you can't tell the difference.
Yeah. No, for sure. The other day I saw you mentioned about people getting like this 124 autofocus
Hmm.
points,
Yeah,
and they're
it's like
shooting models.
it's like why do you need 104 or whatever focal point, whatever? And it's like, all the Sony has that feature where you can focus on the person and then the background is moving and it wouldn't
Hmm.
track away from them. I mean, unless I'm shooting, which it did help me, unless I'm shooting in the middle of Manhattan when people are walking by crazy, and I can just put a faster shutter speed and focus on my subject with manual focus, it'll do the same thing. So yeah, that was the
For sure.
perspective that I was coming from.
No, and it's good, is because it's true. It's like some people have to understand you need the gear for whatever it is that you're
Hmm.
shooting. So
Hmm.
whatever your main, work is,
Niches, yeah.
honestly, your niche, right? You need whatever gear is gonna fix that.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
honestly, like I put it out there. A lot of people don't know. I have a beginner DSLR. I have a Nikon,
Hmm.
and I think for the past, I'm gonna say 8 months, I've kept one lens on my camera,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I do photo and video work for like
Hmm.
many different types of clients,
Hmm.
and I'm happy with that. And I haven't upgraded for two
Hmm.
reasons. One, I still don't see like the full
Right.
need, and
Hmm.
two, a client has not paid for me to upgrade. So if a
Exactly.
client needs me, like,
Hmm.
recently I got a quote for like to do like a 4K job. And I'm like, all
Hmm.
right, my camera doesn't do 4K. If they pay
Hmm.
me 4K money,
Right.
I'm
Right.
gonna get you a 4K camera
Yeah.
for
And you
sure.
can still rent it too. And
Exactly.
yeah. And but you charging them, you're renting, but you're gonna charge them. you know. Yeah, definitely. The gear, man. It's getting. I mean, and Sony does really good marketing. And another aspect of gear that we don't pay attention to is you're not gonna learn anything because the camera is so good, the lens is so good. You just point and shoot at anything in low light, and it does a
And you
great
can fix
job.
it.
And, you know, it's like you're really devaluing, not devaluing, you're not learning from that experience of having to not have the lens that's capable, but still get the images, you know,
Yeah.
still understand the limits of your camera. I know my camera, I'm not going to shoot above 800 ISO because with that model, Sony didn't do that well on the sensor. But that's something I have. The guy who got the AR7 and he's new, or girl, they're
Mhm.
not going to understand that. And, you know, if they're put in a situation, let me give you a perfect situation. When I went to Trinidad again with my friend, I made the biggest rookie mistake, and I wasn't a rookie at the time. I wasn't even hustling. I didn't pack my charger. I didn't keep my
Ooh.
charger in my camera bag, and I had 15% battery. And I'm shooting with one of Trinidad and Tobago's with a model in one of Trinidad and Tobago's top designers. Not Manny, Claudia Pegas, huge designer, somebody I saw on TV. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do the best with this woman's clothing.
Mhm.
But there was a problem in Trinidad. You can't go to what, B&H. There's no B&H. There's nowhere to get it. I tried. Somebody gave me a contact person's number. They didn't have it because, you know, there's still a high Nikon and Canon usage. And I
Yeah.
was like, what are we gonna do? We got all the shots, and we shot six looks, three each girl, and I still had like 3% battery because I understood the limitations, because the models were good.
Yep.
Uh, you know, I had a strobe, which was a huge help, but it was like click, 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 move, click, 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 move. Um, and then that's when it's dead. So now I'm shooting with another guy's clothing, another designer, and we are shooting outside. I had to use my friend's Canon. I've never shot Canon. She had a something to 105 lens, which,
Mhm.
and it's 4.5 to
5.
whatever, 22. And I was like, I don't shoot with this. I shoot with
Yep.
2.8 or 1.8. You know, I shoot with a prime and two, and then I have the 70 to 200. I was like, but I got to make it work. So all I did was
Yep.
I played around with the settings. Meaning not trying to learn. I understood what ISO. All I need to do is find a button and understand how to switch, how to adjust. And I did a full shoot with two models with like about three pieces each girl, using a totally different brand that I had no experience with.
Yep.
The person who's buying the expensive camera today that's doing everything, they cannot do that. That would be a shoot that's canceled in another country. We're using resources for the first time that you have to build connections with.
Yep.
That's the value of understanding your settings and knowing your camera.
And
Yeah.
going off of that, and that is why it's important that people understand that what you're hiring is the photographer
Yes.
and their knowledge and their experience, because
Mm-hmm.
even like you mentioned, with your friend who did the fashion shoot. I actually had
Mm-hmm.
to do my first, I'm gonna say, fashion shoot, and it was for Montclair had like a fashion show, and
Mm-hmm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
Sofistafunk was there. So it's funny
Right.
that I read that and I was like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, we got something in common.
Mm-hmm.
But and those situations are very low light.
Yes.
It's always low light. You understand? There's a stage. There's
Mm-hmm.
certain like lights that'll come on, and the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that I did was you have to go in there. You have to survey. You have to know where you're gonna be, where they're coming in, at
Yes.
what point the light's
Mm-hmm.
gonna hit them right, um,
Mm-hmm.
and not only that, and then having to understand if you're gonna have to do any post production,
Mm-hmm.
how much you can take it
Yes.
so that you can
Yeah.
get a sharp image and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when I saw that, and I went in there, and it was my first time, so I'm just like, man, if I really didn't have like this practice, or like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wheel in
Just
my
the
head,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, and I would be like, this would have been like done. It
Yeah.
would have been a dub.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
cancel it.
Yeah.
And I've been in
Yeah.
the situation like you mentioned about not having batteries. Like if
Mm-hmm.
people see me, I'm always running around with like 3 battery switching and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like you mentioned, my camera's limitations, how much I
Yeah.
can do at what frame rate,
Yeah.
time frame, length of
Yeah.
time that
Yeah.
it'll last.
Yeah.
And that's what clients are paying for, not the gear
Exactly.
that we're shooting. They're paying for
That's.
us and the
Mm-hmm.
final product.
Oh, well,
Everything in between is like,
that's if you include the final product, because that's what I was about to say. This is why I do not issue all of the raws. I do not issue any raws. In my pricing, I've included a certain number of pictures in my pricing.
Yes.
So it's inclusive. But you're paying for my service. I have a really good buddy, Images by Cali, from Miami. You know, he gives raws out, but I was like, why are you giving your raws out? You know, when a model goes and posts your raw and you don't like it, you gave them that raw. Now I understand the allure of getting a model because she's going to get, you know, 600, 500, 200, whatever amount of pictures, which they're just going to click, 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 click and look at themselves. That's all they're going to do.
That's true.
But you're paying for my service. I have that, a promo that I did where I say, I'm going to shoot your digitals and your headshots for free. I'm going to shoot it for free. You're going to get my service for free, but you got to pay for the pictures. That's the difference. You know, so I'm helping you out. I'm helping the community out by all of you collectively paying for my fee, basically, by coming and then contributing by paying for your final product. So you want 2 pictures, you pay for 2 pictures. You want 3, 5, whatever, because you're paying for a service. And I think a lot of new photographers don't get it like that. Like, long ago, what you would do is you would have a sit down, discuss the price. The price you discuss with the photographer is to go shoot. After you come back, there's another time when the edits are done, and then you select. They go through them with a screen, and you select which ones, and there's a price. What size do you want? Prints. And like long ago, nobody gave out digitals. Digitals have a higher value than prints. Because if you give out your digitals, they can duplicate it multiple times, you know. But I'm not saying to go back to that, but I'm just saying we need to understand that it's a service that they're paying for, and not just pictures.
Yes.
Is because if that was the case, you would pay your money and I would send my little cousin with my camera.
Pretty much. Yeah. No, and it's true. And that's a very important thing and it's good that you mentioned it because we're here to educate, you know, community with what we know. And that's very important that you let people understand that there is, first of all, there's a service and then there's deliverables. And that's the thing.
Let me bring it this way for people to understand. And I explained this to a kid the other day and he was like, I don't even think he understood what I was saying. When you pay, hopefully he caught on to it or he will. But when you pay a plumber, right? You pay a plumber for his service. The material isn't included. His tools are included, which is our camera, right? But you have to buy the piping, you have to buy everything else that goes along with fixing the problem. But you pay for a plumber's service, and the same thing with an electrician. So it's the same thing with a photographer. You pay for the final image.
Exactly. And one thing is fun that you mentioned plumber because they said that a plumber gets paid not for how many hits he does, but for knowing where to hit. So if he knows that one thing that's wrong, okay, fix. If he finished in 1 minute,
that's it. You pay for it.
That's your pay for his experience to fix the problem. So no, it's true. Definitely people have to understand that deliverables are different than a service. And that's one thing that I am always like, I have to be 100% with the client because if there's some miscommunication between me and the client about deliverables, then it's just going to be a mess. So I'm always like, okay, this is either, how many photos or usually since I'm doing video, it'll be like, okay, you're getting one video for social media. It's a minute long.
Yeah.
If you need a longer one for your website, that's a different video. That has nothing to do with this one. If you need a long video cut up into 6 other ones, great.
It's something else.
It's a different, because it's different work, and it's it's knowing the final output. So I'm doing all the technical work of knowing, does it have to be, 16:9? Is it 4:5 better?
Exactly.
Instagram has a different, tall than Facebook and like, so all these things like knowing what you're shooting, where the platform is that you're going to post it is like,
like if I'm shooting for a beauty shot, that's why before I get to that, I had a situation where I spoke to a client over the phone and I gave her quote over the phone, and I'm never going to do that again because what I didn't do is I have emails that I send the price sheet, and then I also send my shoot conditions, and I didn't send her the price sheet. And because I spoke over the phone, and when it got to the final imagery, I told her, well, she chose too much and you're supposed to choose XYZ and you have to pay for more. She said, well, we didn't discuss that. You didn't tell me that. So I had to take a L. It wasn't really that bad because I didn't send it. So now everybody that DMs me, if you go to my DM right now, anybody asks about pricing, I'm like, what's your email address? because what I love doing is when people, because clients forget things, clients choose
Yep.
to forget things sometimes too.
They choose.
I always revert them to the invoice that I sent them. I always revert them to the email. And then they come back with, oh, I didn't realize. And then they're like,
And then
okay,
that's it.
how much for XYZ? Yeah. So,
Then they're
it's
just,
because it's a business. You have to be business minded. And, you learn a lot from getting burnt sometimes, if you didn't go to a network, not a network, like a workshop or something where you're taught, you get burnt, but it's all growing pains. As long as you create, I'm pretty sure the reason why you're doing it the way you're doing it is because in the past something happened, and you're like, to cover myself from this happening again, this is how it's going to be done.
very, very true. It's definitely, it's a learning experience, and
Yeah.
it's not one that I want other people to go through, but you
Right.
kind of have to feel
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
understand.
Even if you go somewhere to learn stuff, you're gonna you're gonna meet challenges.
Yeah,
That's
for
just
sure.
life.
No, yeah, definitely. And and that's why, like, even today, I in the morning, I put up a post about, my tip of the day. I'm gonna start doing
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
But it was basically letting people understand that whatever you're gonna create or shoot, you have to have a
Hmm.
purpose. You have
Yeah.
to know the end goal. You have to know where you're
Hmm.
posting it, who's the audience, all this, because that's really how you're gonna also treat client work.
Yeah.
You have to know. And I tell people all the time, I was like, all right, is this for social media just to get like a
Right.
buzz and something cool?
Hmm.
Is it
Hmm.
more informative for
Hmm.
for your customers? Is it for potential B2B? Is this going on
Right.
LinkedIn? Like, it's
Hmm.
completely different.
Yeah.
I can go into a situation understanding what the final outcome looks like, and I can go and
Right.
just grab the shots that I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I go somewhere and don't understand the details of a shot, like,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna have to grab a whole bunch of everything, because at the end, I'm gonna
Hmm.
have to make this whole gumbo with
Yeah.
the images
Because
that I
it's
have.
gonna be, it's gonna be on you no matter what. I didn't want to lose track of what I wanted to say because you had a good point. Um, Hopefully I remember. But anyways, that last point. So I recently did shoot for a client, and it was for lipstick, and I asked her. Well, first I always ask them to send me pictures so I have an idea of what they want, because what I included my
Yes.
pictures is editing, not retouching. I view editing and retouching as two different things. Editing is basic contrast, color correction and stuff like that, and retouching is really going in there and making almost a perfect image, if um,
Mhm.
so she got models friends, which I don't recommend for business, but their lips weren't the right type of lips.
Mm.
And I'm like, she's selling lipstick, but she's not thinking about that, But what I did, I edited as best as I can, but I'm not gonna spend extra time because it's not my fault for you having the wrong type of model, but it's still my duty to get the best out of what we had,
What we did, yes.
Yeah. So it comes back to us. That's why we
Yeah.
have to try to be specific. I hope I remember that point I had before
Yeah.
sometime.
No, and that's important, because one thing that I noticed also
Oh,
nowadays is,
wait, I
go ahead, go
remember
ahead.
the tip of the day thing. It reminds me of one of my mantras, which is be specific. So, a model hits me up. The first thing I do is go to her page. I want to see what she can add. I want to see what I can add to her. A lot of times if I see a model have a lot of sexy stuff, I'm like, okay, you're hitting me up to shoot. I want to switch it. I want people to know that you shot with me. I'm going to shoot more fashion, or just put
Yes.
more clothing on you. Or I see a model where, she looks like she wants to go a little bit more edgy, but she doesn't really know how. Okay, I'll contact her. Now, if they don't want to do it, that's fine. But I will always try to add and be specific, but it also has to come back to me too. So I noticed when I shot lingerie that I got a lot of queries for pricing. So I was like, oh, this is new,
Yeah.
So I shot, right. So I contacted models that I know, and I shot that way, being specific because it's driving income. So back to what you're saying, or to not piggyback, but to solidify what you're saying, you have to be specific. You can't just,
Yes.
you can't. A model hits you up before. You know what I used to do? I used to be like, just bring whatever you have, bring 3 looks. I didn't even used to ask for pictures. And then,
Mhm.
people come. One time I told a girl,
Looking a hot mess.
it was no, it was springtime. And I told her, and she's an artist, and she had colored hair. I can't say the color because people might figure out because she's following me. or maybe I'm following her. But anyways, because I don't like putting people out there that way. But I was expecting her to come like in really cool colors. She came in a gray dress. Gray is not a color to me. I'm
Not
sorry.
for spring.
No, in a gray dress, and I was like, this is totally not what I want. Yeah, we shot. She used the imagery, but now I'm specific where if I'm doing a collaboration or a test, I'm styling it because I'm kind of having fun doing the styling stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways that I'm being very, very specific now.
Yeah. No, and it's good because and it's true, at first I understand everybody's like excited. They have a
Mhm.
model, they get to
Mhm.
shoot, they get to,
Mhm.
kind of practice. But like you said, in the end, especially if it's, on a collaborative term, and by
Yes.
collaborative, I mean it's not paid.
Right. Mhm.
Right? As people understand. Like, to collaborate, it means my services and your services are going to work
Mhm.
together so that we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
expand,
We're
our
bartering.
brand. Yeah,
Barter
right?
system. Mhm.
Exactly. So, at first you're just like, oh, I got a model, we're going to shoot, cool, whatever. But, even recently, like you said, and that's a great point. I always hear that you mentioned that, like, what can you add to the model?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of course, you don't want to shoot. We understand that somebody has a certain look,
Mhm.
but as us as photographers, we're also artists. So we
Mhm.
have our way of shooting, the way that
Yeah.
we like to play with light, the
Mhm.
clothing, the colors.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the only way that a real collaboration is going to work is when the model puts the best of her and her style,
Mhm.
the photographer puts the best of their style,
Definitely.
you know? And like you said, it's like, if you don't know that the shot was taken by you, then did you really collab? She just has more pictures,
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody
And
sees the specific. Nobody sees your trait on it. Nobody sees your mark
exactly.
on it. And I would shoot with a model in the same way. Let's say I want to shoot nude, and this model is known for it, and she has it over her page. You're gonna see my mark on it because I'm gonna find some sort of way to make it.
Hmm.
I had a saying last year. I was like, everything I do is gonna look fashion, no matter if I shoot somebody with nothing on, it's gonna be fashion. And I mean, I didn't shoot a nude, but I had a one with a topless shoot that I did. Is never been posted, but it still looked because a few people have seen it. It looks fashion. It looks edgy. It looks creative. It draws people attention. Actually, it's posted in the studio, and people's eyes go straight to it, and it's in black and white around a bunch of other colored pictures. So you know, yeah, you got to make it different. You got to make it your own. You have to find your own. It's like finding yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't find that one thing, it can be something as simple. I can't remember this photographer's name, but he's well known. Is it Andy? No, Peter Hurley, I think it is. And he shoots and he
Okay.
shoots and he crops right up here, and
Yep.
that's his signature. He crops it out. That's his signature. I actually think I'm going to create a signature. Something I
Yeah,
did
he has
recently
he
that
has
I like.
that
Hmm.
square 4-point lighting.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The 4-point lighting and cutting off the forehead. And in the early stages, people ask him why does he do it, and he explained why. And it's either they take it or not, but that's what he's going to do, and that's his trait. And now he's making what, $10,000 for one picture. He's not even editing because they have to go take the picture to his editing company to edit it, retouch it how
Yeah,
he wants. Yeah,
that's crazy.
signature style.
But
Yeah.
that's what is important. So since you mentioned that, um, because the only way that you're really going to, let's say, become known in the industry,
Hmm. Hmm.
or get your name out there, is because you
Hmm.
have to have a mark. You have to have a brand.
Yeah.
And as a
Yeah.
photographer, usually you're the behind the camera. You're not in front of it, and you're not going to
Yep.
slap a logo on everything you shoot.
Yeah.
That's not
Used to do
going to
that.
happen.
Doesn't do it
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly right.
Don't do it anymore.
But
Hmm.
your style is what's gonna sell. And I'll give two
Yep.
examples just so people like understand. One is he's a designer or stylist. Is
Hmm.
Youth SHMR. I
Hmm.
think he's from France. Sometimes does work in New
Okay.
York, but he has a style where in every photo he has his hands on the model, like on the
Oh,
shoulder.
oh, I think Brianna shot with him
Yeah,
recently.
Brianna recently shot with.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he's like, from what I understand, big in France, and
Oh,
every
wow.
time you see his work,
Hmm.
it has like a kind of futuristic, but also like a
Hmm.
goth style.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you see his hands on the model's shoulder. So as
Yeah.
soon as I see that, I'm like, I know
You
who
know
it is.
who
I
it
don't
is.
care who the
Yeah.
model is. I know who the stylist
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And there's things like that just draws people's attention. And even like one
Hmm.
photographer that I look up to a lot is Eric Hercules,
Hmm.
who started like the We Levitate movement. But
Right.
even though people try to copy it, you can tell when he
when
does
it's
it.
his.
You know, and
Hmm.
when he does it, I'm like, oh, like that's his style.
Yeah,
And brands
yeah.
go to him for
Hmm.
that
For
style.
that.
So that's what he can, so that's his branding. He can sell that. The same thing with the
Hmm.
stylist. They have a certain brand look.
Yeah.
So if photographers are just shooting all types of different colors, all types of different styles, all types of different
Hmm.
things, then nobody knows what you really shoot.
Yeah.
So they can't
That's
come
it.
to you and expect a product,
Yeah.
a branded
Yeah.
product shot by you.
Yeah. That's true.
So either
It's
either you have to be super likable as a person
hmm
and they want to hire
hmm
you because they love you, or
But yeah.
your work has to have a
Yeah.
strong brand message.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a photographer that I talked to in DMs and stuff, individualistic, I think it is, with an underscore at the end. And he says, he has clientele that he shouldn't be having because he's been in places and communicated with people and they like him. Like him. You know, that's it. It's either
That's
they
it.
like you or you have something that's super, super unique, But to touch on something important, the only way they can get to like you is for you to get out there. So for
Yes.
myself, people may not notice subtle things like this, but I started shooting less last year. One, because I want to be more specific with my shooting. I want to when my once I get the shot, I get the shot. I don't have to keep shooting. Then it'll be like
Yes.
I'm guessing. And I do leave leeway for creativity because sometimes oh, like that shot that you're looking at
Hmm.
there, I was light testing and I think I called her name or she just looked at me, and that's a big print that I made now. So I'm still leaving room for, accidental creativity where
Yes.
somebody's on point, either the model's on point or the photographer's on point, and then magic happens. But outside of that, I want my creativity to be specific because, for in situations like this, where I'm having a conversation, or in the future where I see myself being interviewed by big people, I don't know who, but that's my vision. Being interviewed about my life, about my history. I want to be able to say, I did this, I did this, I did this, and that's the outcome, and not create stories because it was an accident and now I have to make it sound good, you
Yeah.
know. So that creating your own niche, but it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey, and it's part of that's why I'm still down for shooting for people with people for collaboratively. I had a post the other day. My page went crazy about the I don't shoot for free. Um, but to each his own, obviously, and there's
Yes.
nothing wrong in that statement. But I like it because you never really know who you're going to meet. I've met people where a year after they contacted me by DM, and that's a job. So if that can happen, you really never know who's in the room with you. You don't know the
Yeah.
model that you're shooting with, who's the connection. I got a Sony. It was a tiny check. It's $100 for one picture for a single Zoe Dollars. It was a late night shoot because she's not even a model. She's a beautiful girl and she likes modeling. Let's put it that way. And we were shooting really
Oh,
late in the studio. And one of the images, somebody that she knows, a graphic designer, used it. He put an edit on it. And wherever the story goes from there, somebody from Sony saw it and they liked it and they wanted to use it for his single. And Sony contacted me. I was in communication with Sony. I was like,
and then they
what? Sony
copyright it.
Entertainment. Yeah. And they paid for the copyright or whatever. But that goes to show you that's from that one photo shoot with somebody who's not even a professional model, who's not even signed or anything. So but maybe it's my personality. I like meeting people. I really
Mm.
like meeting people and learning their stories and stuff like that. So
No, no. I mean,
I'll
it's
keep doing
very, very, very good that you said that, because especially nowadays, in order to stand out, in order to get work, meet people,
that.
you have to network. You have to.
Yeah.
I've met in the past year some amazing people, opportunities, and even the company that I'm with now.
Hmm.
It was through a DM.
Right.
I literally, if you hear Anthony's story, like he'll say it all the time. I literally hit him
Hmm.
up. I'm like, I do photo, I
Check
do
your
work.
DMs, people. This is directly from T. I don't care what people say. I know there, especially models. I know there are a bunch of trolls in there. I know the trolls because the first 3 words you're not gonna know who they are. Check your DMs. There are people that heard a model recently say that she's not gonna look at her DMs anymore. Everybody has to communicate with her via email. I'm like, okay, what they're gonna do is just move on
Yep.
because we're in a society where everything is like 5 seconds attention span, so they're just going to move on. I don't think it's a wise idea. I understand the standpoint that she comes from, but it's like when you drive, there's some people that drive over the speed limit, some people drive the speed limit. That's what I see it as. It's like
Yeah.
what you choose to do, you know But hey, what do I know?
No, but it's true. And like I said, I mean, through the DMs, and like I've made amazing connections with amazing
Hmm.
people who,
Hmm.
in another life or in another opportunity, I would have never
You
crossed
would
paths with.
never, yeah, yeah.
But because of a simple DM and connecting, and they're just like,
Hmm.
I like you as a person, I see your
Yeah.
work, but you're a better person. So I want you to
Hmm.
work with me, or let's,
That's it.
work, let's make something happen.
Hmm.
So I definitely think that there's power in the DM. There's
Definitely power in the
power in the DM.
DM.
So really quick, because we're hitting the limit,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
I
cool.
always ask people to, what is your best tip or advice? Like,
Hmm.
if there's one thing that you could just like transplant into everybody's head nowadays, like bloop, and they like
Hmm.
understand it, what is that one thing that you want people to learn or know about, the industry, photography, creativity?
I'm gonna sound like Gary here, who I've recently started listening to a little bit, not all the time, but it's okay to say I don't agree to certain things. He wouldn't even care. Um,
You want it?
uh, no, he wouldn't. But what I want to say is, you got to put your effort in. You have to put effort in. You have to put 100% effort in. I don't want to hear you say 110 because that doesn't exist mathematically. 100% in. If I've been doing this for like 4 years, going on 5, and when that ball started rolling with Samantha Samuel Passion 64, it's just been adding up and adding up. It's been snowballing and getting bigger because I instinctively sit, I evaluate what's happening, I evaluate where I am, and I make things, I shift things around. I had ambassadors for 3 years. I'm no longer doing it because I need to get myself out of a certain comfort zone. But it's me taking myself seriously enough where I'm being specific. I know too many models, and this is where I'm going to talk to the model community. I know too many models who they have it. And I don't care what anybody say, I have an eye. I have an eye.
Hmm.
Because there are people that I put on that are moving places right now. They haven't gotten to a certain, they're moving and they'll get there if they stay with it. There are people that I've brought into the industry, and when people saw them, it's like, oh my gosh, they went crazy. So I know I have an eye for it. So I know people that have and could still, go places, but they're not giving it 100%. They're not really putting what it takes in and being distracted. This is where I say I'm going to sound like Gary, because okay, a model asked me, okay, so how do you learn to do XYZ posing and whatever, whatever? I keep saying the same thing over and over. Put your phone in front of you, record yourself, and look at yourself.
Yes.
If you don't want to do that, put a mirror, get a full length mirror. You can get them in Home Depot for $5. That's how cheap it is. And you can look at yourself. You look at magazines, you try to mimic poses. The same model will ask me the same question over another period of time, but I would see the same model going to parties, which there's nothing wrong with. But you're not like your friends. Your friends have different goals. Maybe they're going to school, so they have that party time. But what you're doing, you may have to sacrifice some of that party time, or whatever other type of time. But you have time, to give whatever it is, whether it's painting, whether it's dance, whether it's music,
Hmm.
anything. Put all of your all into it. Make moves, make big moves sometimes, make sacrifices. People don't understand the definition of sacrifice today because we're always looking for somebody else to give us a hand. So we're not understanding that we can give ourselves a hand. You can pull yourself up. If I reach down to pull you, there's a certain give you have to give to let me pull you up there. You have to put your foot on
Yeah,
something
you
to help you
can't
get up
just be
there.
dead weight.
No, you can't be that way because I'm gonna let you fall. So so
Facts.
people just give it, put the effort in, put the work in. Denzel Washington has something that he said when the first time I saw it was last year, and I know it's not a new thing, where he said, "Not all movement is progress." That's why I slowed down,
For sure.
because I was moving really fast, but chaos is movement too.
Yeah, exactly.
Chaos is movement, but it's not going anywhere. There's no direction. It's just craziness, you know. So put your best foot forward, and just give it a good, your best, utmost best try. And if you think you gave it your best and things didn't work out, still give it an extra try.
For sure.
That's the best. That's what I can say.
Boom. No, I love it. Definitely. It's important, for people to hear that, because it's true. We can easily get caught up on complacency and
all the
not
distractions.
working and comparing
Hmm.
ourselves, and like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter as long as you just
No.
keep working on your craft, never stop
Hmm.
learning, try,
Yeah.
put yourself in uncomfortable situations. um that's honestly the only way that you're gonna get out there, because
Yeah. People are trying to win the lottery. People, use Bill Gates as I'm like, why are you trying to live your life with the hope of an exception? He's an exception to the rule. Um, there don't use the Kardashians as an example. They're an exception.
exactly.
A lot of the things they have today is from a sex video. Think about that.
Yeah,
It's an exception. So look at the people who really put work in. The people like Denzel Washington, people like Oprah, people like Gary, people who put work in and have gone from this guy from Fubu, I forgot his name, um, who started Fubu, and he's on Shark Tank. Damon. Anyways,
yeah,
people
yeah.
like that,
I know what you're talking about.
people who put work in, and people who are specific, and people use those people as your examples, because those are people that have tried things and failed, and they kept, moving on. Don't use exceptions, because it's an exception. It's like
That's
trying to
it.
play the lotto with your goals and your creativity. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. Damn. No, but I love that for sure. I hope people
Yeah, I
do
hope so.
engrave it, and because it's for the it's for the better. If they do it,
Yeah,
they will for sure move forward to the place where they want to
yeah,
be. And everybody
yeah.
always has this vision of where they want to be in their creativity. Maybe it's not like a certain endpoint, but at least
Hmm.
there's a path, there.
Yeah, exactly.
So love it, love it, love it, love it. So that everybody can, reach out to you and know where to find you. Where is the best place that they can go to find you?
Instagram, baby. TMAXTT on Instagram. I have a website. You can always click on the link there. But Instagram, my Instagram game is heavy, even though I'm not posting much. That's like a little secret I'm letting out, kind of. Um, because
Mhm.
I've recently been practicing new habits in terms of the algorithm and stuff. Because you hear things, you don't practice it, but I'm putting a little effort there. But yeah, that's right. Currently, that's where I get the most of my clients from too, through Instagram. So that's the best place. TMAXTT.
There you
Yeah,
go.
and anywhere you see that, it's me. If it's on a video game, if it's on Periscope, it's anywhere you see TMAXTT, it's me. I can guarantee you that.
There you go. No, that's good. You gotta keep the same name, the same
Yeah,
handle as
yeah,
long as possible.
yeah. I'm actually
Yeah.
thinking about changing the Medin photography to TMAX photography, but we'll see how that goes.
Honestly, I'm gonna say it. I was shocked
Hmm.
because when I saw your name and I was like, I think this is T Max. I'm pretty sure it's T, but I'm not sure. So let me check.
Yeah,
So I had to do a little bit of research, and I was like, all right,
you're
yeah,
right.
that's him.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
hey,
you may have to do that switch, but
yeah,
hey, you'll
which is
figure it
fine.
out. But definitely, I'll leave it, written and linked so people can
Cool.
check it
Yeah,
out. And T, I 1,000%, actually not 1,000%, 100%.
yeah. There you
That
go.
mathematically doesn't exist, but 100% appreciate you actually coming on and
No
taking
problem,
time
man.
to share your knowledge, your experience, and to have a good talk. I mean, we're both from New Jersey, like,
Yeah,
and we never met in person, and it's
yeah. I
amazing
know.
how many people I've met, on like
Virtually.
podcasts, yeah, virtually first, and
Yeah,
then I meet in person. So,
yeah,
and I know you got like edits to do and stuff. Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah. I
never
mean,
not editing. We're never not.
no. I mean, I've brought things to a place where editing is a little bit smoother, and all of that is just learning and tricks and stuff, because at the end of the day, should you really be putting all of that time, are you in the black or in the red? Because if you really do the math, the time you're putting after the shoot, what the client's paid for, they paying you, or are you paying them technically?
Yeah,
So that's just a little last quick
the
advice there,
little
where I've really,
golden nugget.
yeah, a little nugget where I really owned down and brought things. But it starts at the shoot, though. It starts at the shoot. If you don't start there, knowing what the end product will be, well, then it's not going to work out.
Bam. You just keep.
Yeah.
I wish I could have you here forever,
Man,
but
I could talk long, man.
no,
I talk a lot.
no,
People
no,
who
don't
know
worry.
me know I talk a lot. And some of them ignore, which is fine. Some of them listen, which is great.
No, but it's good. That means, not only do you have like a lot of knowledge, but also willing to share. Some
Yeah.
people know a
Love
lot and they
sharing.
just
Love
they
sharing.
just
If
stay
people didn't
quiet.
share, I wouldn't if people didn't share on YouTube, I wouldn't know what I know. You know, if
Yes.
those guys didn't put that stuff out there free, and that's why there's something I'm actually going to be doing on Instagram where I'm going to bring the YouTube model, and I'm saying this because I want other people to start doing it too. I'm going to bring the YouTube model to Instagram where people put information out there. YouTube people basically went there and gave you free knowledge, and then you took that free knowledge, the snippets and whatnot, and then later on when you amassed a following that's decent size, then you have workshops, then you have, so I'm not going to be doing stuff like workshops and stuff right now until I amassed a certain amount of like following and stuff. I don't like stuff to fail, so yeah, but I'm going to bring that model where I'm giving little snippets and teaching little things, and I'm going to be teaching you things that other photographers don't. Everybody's going to talk about aperture and shutter speed and blah blah blah, and editing and all of that. But I'm going to teach you the things that nobody talks about. Like an elbow towards the camera. I don't hear photographers talking about that. Like a model sitting where, let's say, her butt is exposed because she's wearing underwear or nothing, and it's squished. There's a way to have them sit. Just things like that. Just things like your backdrop. Easier ways to set up stuff like that. So I'm going to try to bring that model to Instagram. Hopefully it gets out there.
No, that's good. That's definitely, and I'm all for it. I'd love to.
And I'm going to be the revolutionary guy to bring virtual video, virtual recording.
Vertical, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, vertical. Yeah, I said virtual. I mean vertical. Yeah, very good.
No, for sure. I've been on that. I've been on that. Should I not for like a long time now, but I'm gonna have to do the extra work, go with the flow, and whatever works.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's a logical sense behind it, because right now my content is for mobile devices. My content isn't for big screens, so there's a logic behind it too. Yeah, not just being rebellious.
which is not bad.
I can be sometimes. I can be so.
No, definitely. But yeah, T, for sure. Again, thank you a lot, and
no problem, man.
We still got to meet in person.
Definitely.
Shoot together or just grab some coffee.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. I'm mad I didn't know about the Pursuit of Portraits thing, because I think I was available that day, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was coming up. Another one.
Yeah,
probably.
No, I wasn't here yet. I was still in Puerto Rico.
Oh, you wasn't back yet. Okay.
Yeah, but when I heard about it, I was like, because Wafika told me about it, and I'm just like, she's like, yeah, you should come through, and I'm like, I want to go. She's like, so just come, and I'm like, I'm not in the country. So that was that. But he said this
it'll happen.
Having another one, like soon. But I don't know.
I'll look out. I'll look out. Cool.
For sure.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I mean, willing to listen to what I have to say. Hey, it's cool.
No, of course. And like I said, it's like the main focus of this podcast is not only the main reason is to expose super creators, to let people know who you are as a person. Right. You're not just a pixel. You're not just what you post.
I'm not a pretty girl that's in my bio right now.
That's what everybody But yeah, let people actually know who the person is behind the work, so that they can connect with you more. And then also to share knowledge and let people know that we're here to collaborate, to grow the community together. We're going through the same struggles, and just get it done.
I mean, it's a good work. Good thing you're doing. Definitely.
Thank you. Try my best. Honestly, it's
hey,
not like
give it your best, man. Give it your all.
Doing it for sure. So again, they can follow you at TMAXTT. There you go. And then you'll find all his work there.
Yeah, everything's there.
Send him a DM. Let him know that you found out about him on the Super Creators podcast.
Definitely, yeah.
All that. So I'm gonna close it off with my saying is that, again, thank you for listening to the Super Creators podcast, and letting you know that everyone is a super creator. You just have to find what is your superpower. And with that, we will finish. And until next time, guys.
All right, take care.
And gals.
Yeah.